Okay, we're here today with Jason Sims, United States Army veteran. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, thanks for having me. I really
Hey,
appreciate it.
could we get a little background on you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Jason Sims, and I am Wenatchee local. Actually, grew up in Rock Island. Lived out there most of my life. Graduated Eastmont in 2001, and uh, entered the big world out there. That was that was fun. It was neat because I went originally. I went to college first. I didn't go right from high school to the army. Um, I wanted to go, do my education, pursue the dream. I didn't realize, however, the opportunities to find distractions at the college level, and
That's a
so
wonderful word.
distractions.
Distraction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Distraction, Miller Genuine Draft, whatever you want to call it.
That encompasses an entire spectrum of activities.
It's a lot.
Like,
Oh goodness, yeah. I went from small town Rock Island kid to Seattle, big time city, and on my own, and no rules, and too much opportunity to make not great choices. And by the end of 2003, I had gotten an associate's degree, but I was not in a great place. I was drinking and partying and just being a kind of a bum. And it got to a point where I realized I was like, I don't know what, I can't keep doing this. I don't want to keep doing this. And I ended up, I moved back home at the top of 2004, and I was like, I'll get a job in Wenatchee. I had an associate's degree and big hopes, and
so what was your associate in?
it was actually video production, which I know I did. I wanted to make movies at one point.
Maybe I should be on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from this one.
Yeah.
All right. That's great.
A lot's changed since I messed with that stuff, but it was neat at the time, and I had my heart set, and I had done some commercials and been in some commercials, and there were small successes, but they were really overshadowed by my outside extracurricular activities of just not taking care of myself. And uh, I moved back home, couldn't find a job, and I ended up one day, my dad was he kind of griped at me and was like, you can't keep sleeping in, you can't keep hanging out. I'm sure I was getting into his Captain Morgan stash. I'm sure. Yes. I'm sure. I know. I was still struggling. I wasn't sure what to do, and I guess one of the ways I've put it before was I was kind of wandering around without a compass.
Sure.
I left this conversation with my dad, drove around town, and somehow found myself at the recruiter station. That's on Grant Road. At the time they had everybody: Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force. I ended up not doing good enough on the ASVAB to join the Air Force. Didn't want to do Navy. The ocean's not my thing. And Marines had open contract, and I didn't like the sound of that. And the Army said, well, we'll give you 15 G's if you sign up for 4 years.
Well,
and
now that's a horse of a different color there.
I hate to say I sold my soul for the almighty dollar, but it certainly greased certainly like made it easier to, raise my hand and sign on that dotted line. I would end up leaving in April. Actually, I went to Fort Jackson, got to Fort Jackson, South Carolina in 2004 on April 1st, which was the worst April Fool's ever. And it changed, and that's sort of, there's this sort of chapters in my life so far. There's the early years, there's the pre-Army college years, and then there's Army. The Army was so formative to me and important to me at that time, especially the way basic training was set up. I loved it. I loved basic training. I found it to be a really important experience in my life, and something that I think is really important as a society. I feel like we really protect our kids, and we insulate them, and we helicopter parent, and we don't ever, in like modern society, we don't like push ourselves, like we don't have challenges that we have to muscle through, or like we've I'm not trying to say everybody's soft, but we have a very, very padded, very soft, very, I mean, it just that we don't create those opportunities to be like, okay, go climb up that mountain or something
Kind of
challenging.
looking for technology to do it for us.
Yeah,
Everything.
yes. We very much have, replaced inconvenience things with convenience things, and the cost has been that we've really lost some of that. And so for me, as a person of the modern times back then, I had never really pushed myself physically or mentally or emotionally. Um, I I really that opportunity to like dig in and really see what I was made out of was a gift. It was a gift to me that I didn't realize I needed at the time. I had graduated, I had my associate's degree, but the lack of job, the lack of success, the fact I wasn't where I thought I should be, all that stuff made me just feel so small. And by the end of basic training, it had like reversed. And the part of me that felt tiny and small was actually now tiny, and I knew it wasn't real, it wasn't true. I had it, it I had seen this sort of change occur in myself that uh, it really helped me. Yeah, I mean, I like kind of like an evolution, or like it's like, I came out of my shell there into a new,
Sure.
confident, strong, and able person that had a sense of purpose and motivation and direction, and um,
Kind of like a metamorphosis of self-realization.
yeah.
You were who you
Yeah.
were all along.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you had such a small picture of yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
basic training has that effect on some people that
Mm-hmm.
it opens up your eyes real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
This is the real world where I came from. And
Yeah.
some people, they fight it, and then others like you,
Mm-hmm.
you realize, hey, this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And when you embrace it, then you can build on it.
Yeah, it was some, I really, really enjoyed it. And there's one kind of important point at Basic that I really look back on as the sort of inflection point. And that was at the end. So at the end of basic training, there's this like it's like a week long field training exercise, FTX thing. And we play all these war games, and there's smoke, and there's CS gas, and the miles gear, and all this fun stuff. And it's great. We played all these things. Dig a foxhole. I was one of the last groups to have kind of the old Vietnam era training before they switched to ACUs and the urban training. So I got a little bit more of the old school version. And towards the end, after that FTX, I want to say it was like a 17 or 18 mile ruck back to base, and that was the end. It was like we did this last ruck, and then there was sort of graduation party sort of deal. And it was not easy. It's a 50-pound ruck. You've been out in the woods. There's no showers. You're dirty. You're tired. You're beat up. You're carrying all this heavy stuff, and it's South Carolina or North Carolina, whatever Carolina Jackson's in now. I think it's South
And
Carolina.
there's no humidity down there at all.
And I went, and by then it was June, like the top of June, and we were coming back, and so it's a grind. You're grinding. I mean, there's nothing around you for miles. One thing I was shocked about when I went on my first military base was how huge they are. They are like a whole other country, city, like they're massive. And so you're just in the middle of nowhere on this road and walking. That's all you gotta do is just take another step. Towards the end, I had fallen back. I'm not a huge guy. I'm not the biggest, strongest guy. Rucking was hard for me. and I had kind of fallen back, and I was towards the end, and they had threatened us. They said if you go past a certain point, you have to get in the truck. There's like a 5-ton truck behind us that was. If you fell out or got hurt, you had to go sit in the back. And they said if you fell out, you would get recycled, meaning you'd have to go back through basic all over again.
That's a motivation.
I don't know if that was true, but that put some pep in my step.
But the first time was good enough.
I did, and they, and there's this, like, the reason it was such an inflection point was this was like the real gut check moment for me, where I had, by the last quarter of it, I got like 4 miles left. No idea at the time where we were, how far away, but it was about the last quarter of the adventure, and my mind was like, you're gonna just quit, you can't do it, like, give up. And it was like really just in my head, and then at some point, I don't know why or when, something changed, and it went from you can't to you can, and from stop to don't stop. Keep going. I think I had kind of heard the truck behind me. I had seen the people, and it's like you start getting a little bit too far, and you're like, nope. And there was just something that happened, and I found like that switch got flipped, and I like leaned forward, and there was just something happened.
It's almost like in that moment you shed that person from before and became the new person that you wanted to be.
I was like, I'm not getting in that damn truck. They're not going to get me. They're not going to get me. And next thing I knew, I looked up, and we're at the end. There's this big celebration thing, and I came out of that the person I am today, which is someone I'm proud of, and I still have that confidence. I still have that sense of I can do tough things. I can handle hard things. I can survive. I can push through. Which would be important, because that would not be the last time the Army would ask that of me.
Well, and at that point, they're pushing your training. Mm-hmm. They want to know before they put you on the AIT, mm-hmm. Can you do it? Can you ruck up? Mm-hmm. And when you know you can't go another foot and you can't carry another pound, get up, put your ruck on, suck it up, and let's go. Mm-hmm. And for for your situation, it strengthened you. Mm-hmm. And other people, that is a moment where they just break and they can't do it.
Yeah. You really kind of see that, what you're made of. And when I was talking about a soft society, I feel like we don't give many opportunities like that for those super meaningful learning opportunities. Right. That's it's kind of a bummer, but I got that out of it, and and then from there on it was like, bring it on. I can handle it. Yep. And we went from there, and I originally joined to be a generator mechanic, a 52 Delta, and I think that number's changed. A lot's changed since I've been out.
Sure.
But that was something important for me also, especially kind of going from artist, performer, creator. I was like, I want to have a technical skill. I want to learn something might be used outside of this. And it was fantastic. I actually really ended up liking working on engines and power generation. It was nice working with problems it was like, it won't start. Okay, check the fuel. It's like there's a logic to it that I didn't know I liked until I kind of got into it.
And you find out in your job that the creativity that you had before, you don't have to shed that. As you get along, those creative type things that you did before,
right,
also are tools that you can use in this new reality.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was very true. It was good times, and then AIT was kind of too easy.
Where was that?
It was Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland.
Oh, really?
Which, yeah, I'd never been on the East Coast before, and it was great.
So from Jackson, you went to Aberdeen.
Yep, took a bus ride and hit every Waffle House along the way.
There you go.
Yeah, I had never really eaten buffet food till the Army. That was first. And we had the Royal Fork out here for a while. We didn't do buffet much, but then that was like Old Country Buffet,
Yes,
Waffle
sir.
House. Yep, it was easy. You take your little government voucher and you go get giant plates of the worst food.
Feel good, comfort stuff.
Yeah, that was a comfort because you're definitely out of your element. So that there was some stuff there, something about that. And then from there, I was assigned to Fort Polk, Louisiana, which ended up being
Lord.
the first time I really cried home. I think.
What have I done to
We
myself?
got to Fort Polk, Louisiana, the middle of nowhere, like 1,000% humidity, and you're soaking wet just walking out the door. And they do this intro thing when you come in as a new soldier, and they're gonna take you to your unit. And I think the first thing the sergeant major said was, "I hope you like hunting." And I called Mom that night. Oh, I don't know why did I do this?
Don't mind the snakes and gators, because they don't mind you.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he said, "Don't mess around in the swamp, because in the swamp, people don't come back." Like, it's okay, man.
That's good advice, right?
I know, right? It was nuts. And that was a really, you know what? I was grateful though because that was a very real unit. I was with the 2nd Armored Cav, and they were like, it was like military. I showed up. They like I had a job, did a thing. We had our sergeant, had our thing, had our squad leader, It was very like.
Yeah, I served a little time with the 2nd Armored Cav myself.
Yeah.
Alpha troop.
Yeah, it's great. It was fun, man. I missed the spur ride. I ended up getting moved to Fort Lewis. I really wanted to do it. I left the day they did the spur ride that way, and I understand that was it's a good little challenge for Cav. And then I ended up at Fort Lewis with the new Stryker Brigade, 4th Stryker Brigade Combat Team.
Okay.
That would be where I would stay for the rest of my active duty and who I would deploy with. We stood them up, and when I said Fort Polk felt very military, Fort Lewis felt very different because it was like a new unit. So when I showed up, they're still bringing people in.
Sure.
We had E4s running things. We didn't have all the, so there's it kind of had a bit more of a
Still in the build-up.
disorganized. It was a little
Yeah,
disorganized.
sure.
I'm not going to say it was easier to sneak away to go to the gym or go to the store during the workday, but it was so much easier to go to the gym or sneak away during.
More flexibility.
Yeah, more flexibility.
I think
We'll
that's
say
what we
that. Yeah. And eventually, I end up with 1st CRT, which is our first combat recovery team. We were part of 202 Brigade Support Battalion, and what happened is that we were part of the Stryker team, which is this new vehicle, kind of like a Humvee and a tank had a baby, right? What they did is each Stryker brigade or Stryker unit, they'd assign like a mechanic crew with.
Sure.
So I spent my entire first 3 years of the Army just turning wrenches. And then we deployed in 2007 to Iraq. And we were north of Baghdad. We were in this area of Tarmiya. We were basic Camp Taji, which name has changed a few times. Balad, I think it was also called. It was a huge base, had an airfield, but it was in the middle of some scary stuff. And I became, one thing they tell you in the Army early on is that you're infantry first, right? Or
Absolutely,
whatever,
that's basic training.
That's the basic training. And so I had remembered they said that, but then it didn't really take effect until they're like, oh, well, you're a generator mechanic, and those only need to be messed with like once every couple days. Now I'm a body, which needed a job, and so I ended up becoming a driver and a gunner for almost every single combat patrol I think I had over 150 in 15 months.
Wow.
I was out once or twice a week.
Sure.
And it was this dichotomy of like, or juxtaposition between like doing my actual job, and then now I'm like, oh God, now I'm like my head's on a swivel. Now I'm in the tank. Now I'm in the turret. Like, this is real. Like, we're on the road. And that was something that really was, I wasn't ready for that, which I don't have shame in admitting. It's like you train for one thing, and then you kind of end up doing a couple different. And through that, and because of that, I did have, multiple, we'll say, harrowing experiences and close calls. And I was exposed a lot more to that than my team, because as the generator mechanic, one of the things I learned right away was, if you have a broken vehicle, you drive it down, or you haul it down, you tow it down to the main maintenance bay, and everybody works on it. The generators stay at the outposts. I go to the generator. So on top of the patrols, if anything went sideways, I'm on the next convoy. I'm on the next one. I'm rolling out. I'm attached. And I think there was something about that. I was very separated. Like, I wasn't with my team a lot. I was always kind of attached to other people. There was a little bit of a lack of that, like, really close bond. I think that cohesiveness, yeah. I kind of always felt like a third wheel. And that made some challenges for me, and even for other folks, because one of the things I think many of us can relate to in the Iraq a lot, because we were on the road more in Iraq. I think I wasn't in Afghanistan, but the Middle East, there's something about with the IEDs and stuff. There's this like weird feeling when you're just sitting in the back of a truck waiting. Like, there's no, like, you're just like, it's like rolling the dice. It's like, you don't know if it's you this time that's gonna get, and one thing I absolutely hated is I hated sitting in the back of the Stryker. And so when I was like attached to some groups, sometimes we'd have to get out and clear things or do foot patrols, and I would frequently like beg the sergeant in command or whoever to be like, can I just go? Can I go? Just put me in the back. I'll just like, I don't want to sit in the truck and wait for my death or whatever. And sometimes they'd let me, and other times it was like I felt like I was just trying to play army. It's like I felt other. But sure. There was just something about that was like, I had realized pretty quick that it was going to be tough. It was going to be a tough one, and that I was going to be challenged and pushed, and that I was going to be doing a lot of that kind of on my own. I did have a team. We had our first CRT was great. I loved everybody. We got along great, but there was just like, there's a lot of that separation. I'd be gone for a week or 2 weeks sometimes, because they'd bring me out to the outpost, and then I wouldn't go back until they rotated companies, right? So I'd go and I'd be with the Alpha Company, and they'd take me back. I go here, and then I'd go right back with Charlie Company, and so it was like a lot of.
What was the normal rotation?
I can't. Well, was
there any set?
We had 3 different bases we were working with at the time from Taji. At this point, we were going to Tarmiya, a police station in Mushata, and this place called JSS East. I ended up, I would be at any one of them at any time, kind of depending on where they needed me. On the one hand, it sucked, and there was some days that were just really rough, and I had to deal with that on my own. But then on the other hand, I also got to do some really cool shit. Like, nothing felt more like the Army than when they called me in. They're like, hey, generator's down, we need you here ASAP. And the only way they could get me there was helicopter. So I get to go out there. There's nothing more Army than sitting on the edge of a Black Hawk with your weapon. You got your night vision goggles, and you're flying over the city like
140 knots, having a good time.
I hate to get like all pumped up, because it's scary and you don't want to have to hurt people, and it's your war, but like at the same time you're like, yeah, this is awesome, bro.
There are moments, yeah.
There's little moments, right? I was like a kid from Rock Island playing G.I. Joe, man. This is real. Just
hope somebody don't get silly with an RPG.
Right, and even just like, and even coming in and doing sort of a combat thing, like that the Black Hawk wouldn't fully land. You do about 2 feet, you jump down, you cover up, and then they take off, and you feel that blast come in, the sand hits you, and you're like, what? I'm in the Army, bro.
It's a wake-up call.
Yeah. And I got there, and I'm pretty sure that time the generator was just out of fuel, so that was
That was a big problem.
Well, yeah, and then you think about it, and I'm like, gosh, that was a lot of resources to get me out here to put some gas in the thing, but man, those are the challenges we faced in that, as the generator mechanic, the only generator mechanic in that unit as well, I should say.
Well, too, and there's some people say, well, it's only a generator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they haven't been in that situation before. If your generator goes down, you're in the dark ages, and that's not a funny pun. That's like, if you don't have power, that's not cool. So the generator mechanic becomes...
I became a bit of a celebrity in a way.
Yeah, you bet.
And the one thing that was nice is that position, I don't say it gave me leverage, but I got a lot more respect than I feel like I would have as other soldiers, especially from higher up in ranking, and some of the real tough, grizzled infantrymen, some of those badass ranger types. I felt respected because I was competent.
They knew your value.
Right, and we called it the TOC, the Tactical Operations Center, Command, or whatever. Mm-hmm. The generators powered those. So if the generator went down, the TOC went down, and then you got guys in the field. And that can't happen. You can't have that.
Your command is broken down.
A lot of that. One thing I did want to make sure I communicated, though, and this is kind of one of the things that made the Army a special experience for me, was I did bring something to the table that ended up being a real funny, kind of interesting thing that I didn't ever imagine would be a thing. So Yeti, I don't lead with this. I'm a professional magician, and I know this is not as cool as it sounds.
Yeah.
Sounds
cool to me.
I'd done magic, I'd done card tricks and silly things like in high school, and that was kind of one of my survival mechanisms, because I was always a skinny, kind of dorky little kid, and I was a slow, late bloomer or whatever, and magic helped me, hey guys. And then in the Army, it became a thing, because it was like, one thing that so many people don't realize is how much time you have. There's so much downtime. The hurry up and wait or whatever, or just there's these moments in the military where you'll just go from like the craziest chaos to just sitting there, and it's like cue the elevator music, like what are we doing?
Yeah.
And
it's like the phrase they say, your hours of boredom broken up by moments of terror.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
So you're bored to death, and all of a sudden somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you get incoming, and it goes from boredom yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something that I ended up, I actually got better at magic, because, you're with the same people, they see the same stuff, they're like, I know how you did that, and you're like, okay, well, I gotta learn something new. And that through that evolution up to the deployment, right before deployment was when it was really started taking off, and then we deployed, and then that became this weird thing that we would do. I would do magic shows for the squad.
Yeah. It's almost like a release, It's a valuable tool.
It
I mean,
was
for morale and
it was such a it was so funny and to see this the just the reaction, right? And that was something that really helped me cope and deal and manage and find community and find comfort and to heal a little bit, right? Like we would have days, like I don't know how dark or whatever we want to get, but I mean there's some days where you just come back and you want to burn your uniform. You know, there you can't shower enough to get the shit off of you. And to come back and sit down and just like almost goof off for, you know, do something like that where we all forget for a second that we're in the middle of hell. You know, dying and bleeding and killing and surviving and this mess. Like, it actually smells like crap, like, because we had to burn our own weight. Like, just all the reasons it's horrible. And then we could just have these, like, little tiny moments of
I
relief.
think it's important in that situation. What you're doing is you're taking their focus and your focus off of what you're describing. They say, hey, man, Jason's going to have a magic show. And all of a sudden it's like, that is just kind of laid aside, and all of a sudden the focus becomes on something positive.
Yeah.
And that they feel, it's almost like a piece of home. Because it's someplace they can go to where all this other stuff is, it's distant, it's still there, but it's distant for that moment in time. You know, and I think, I can remember good times like that, you know, and there's always that one guy or a couple guys, and even the worstest times, they'll have this goofy grin, or they'll tell a joke, or they'll fall off a log or something intentionally, you know, and
yeah, that turned out to be one of my superpowers.
Yeah, there you go.
And
can't teach that in basic training.
No. And it was it's kind of, you know, it's silly, but there's been, you know, some of the ways that it has stayed with me though is that I continue to do. Man, I really got my first professional gig during deployment. I ended up our sergeant major for the infantry. He Command Sergeant Major Pitch. He wanted. He saw some of the magic, and I'm talking about Sergeant Major Ranger, tough guy, and I had him going, "What the heck?" Like, which is great. I loved it. And he came up to me and he was like, "Boss is coming. You better be ready." I'm like, "What?"
You better be good.
The Brigade Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major John Wayne Troxel. I love this
John
guy.
Wayne.
Yeah, I know. He looked like a Sergeant Major too, man.
Yeah.
He had a look, but he was. I got him with a couple really good card tricks. I made him smile. I got him laughing. And I'll never forget when our Sergeant Major came up afterwards and he shook my hand. He was like, "Good job, dude." He's like, "You got the boss, man. Good job."
And I'll tell you what, there's nothing wrong with having a Command Sergeant Major on your side.
No, absolutely not. But then he came back up afterwards. He came and found me and he goes, "Sergeant Sims." I was a sergeant. I was E5 by then, by the time we deployed. And he's like, "Sergeant Sims, I want you to do a show for headquarters." And I was like, "Really, Sergeant Major?" He goes, "I think we need it. I think that'd be good." And I was like, "Okay, absolutely, I got it." And he goes, "All right, you're in. Better not suck."
That's just a PS.
Yep. And a couple weeks later, we did a show at headquarters. I had one other friend I had kind of been teaching stuff to, so I kind of had a little protege. And he did some fun stuff, and I did my show, and I got, you know, we got applause, high fives, you know. It's weird, you know, people don't understand the Army. There's different, like, you don't, officers and enlisted, there's not so much overlap, but there's like this moment where we were just all people. Yeah. We were just an audience.
Yeah, there's no bars and stripes, we're all just humans.
Yeah, we were all humans, and we all needed that little bit, and that was the first of like 40 shows I ended up doing.
Wow.
So on top of my other work and all that stuff, I ended up doing that, and I can say with certainty that magic got me out of so much extra detail.
I was going to say cameraman, mechanic, and magician. I don't know how you put that on a business card, but
I know.
it'd be interesting.
And then I would still, I mean, in that, I still do it. I do shows, I do magic still, and sometimes some comedy, and the Army, it's such a great thing, it's such a great story to bring up, because when I tell the story of how I'm good at magic, it gets people, that's kind of a way to get people on your side. It's not just being a veteran or an entertainer. It's like this combination of like, hey, this is why I like doing this. Like, this is what the benefit was. Like this, and in some ways magic saved my life, and let me show you why I like it. And so I have this amazing hook. And I ended up, I still do it at most of my shows, and I didn't bring anything. I didn't want to, this isn't about magic or doing the trick, but there is a trick I do that I close my shows with, that involves a story about a soldier I knew. And it's a way to honor this soldier, because without story or context, a card trick is just me showing off. If it's got to have some context and some background for it to hit. And so my closer, and I don't want to spoil too much, but it involves a story of a soldier I was acquainted with, and after one of my shows, he kind of came up to me. He was a younger kid. He was like 18 or 19. He was like, hey, let me show you a trick. And he showed me a trick, and it was good, and I kind of knew it, but it was like, I love when people want to like engage.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm all about, in magic we call it pass the deck. I will pass the deck. Yeah, show me what you got.
Yeah.
And he did it. It was great. And we kind of traded a few other things, and we talk a little bit. He was on a foot patrol. He was gunned down by a sniper. He was one of the 5th or 6th people we lost that deployment, and it was really tragic because he was one of the youngest, and I think when you lose someone at 18 or 19, I mean that's a, for me, I was 23 at the time, and I still felt invincible, or 24, but there was something that was a real gut punch about him, William.
Realize the fragility of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I took his story, and I've incorporated that into my last trick, so that the last trick, it's funny, when I finish it sometimes, like I'll tell the story and I'll get emotional sometimes, and one thing you really want in magic is you really want someone to be like, whoa, how'd you do it? Oh my gosh, a big reaction. On the other hand, though, sometimes the most powerful moments of awe and magic is silence. And that story and that trick together have created a moment where I end my show, I say the last line, and I do the thing, and I just kind of step back.
Well, what strikes me is that it's a true legacy, not only for your friend, but for you.
And I think that's what's important to me, is to honor that. Now, it's not the same trick, and there's there's story, but the underlying theme was that this soldier motivated me to get better, and to do better, and to learn more, and to honor the life I have, that I, making it through.
Mm-hmm. Well, don't you feel that provides a healing effect for not only you, but the people that are in your audience? You have no idea. There can be people out there in very similar situations like that. When they see the emotional attachment to what's going on and the story and everything, it resonates them more than just a magic trick. And all of a sudden they're focused on the magic trick, and that is great, but then the story is just as important to them. And it's probably, not to say that the trick's not great, because I love magic too, but sometimes the story behind it, that image is in your head, and it just stays there for a while, and you think about it, going, hey, that was very powerful. That was very impactful. So I applaud you for that. That's excellent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's been so much healing through that. And that's actually one of the ways I kind of wound my way back into society coming back. Now, when you get back from deployment, where they're not, sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy for a lot of people. It's not easy, it wasn't easy for me. I definitely had some worldview shaking moments that occurred, and I came back with the trauma of that of the deployment and the weight, and there's like, from survivor's guilt to just the guilt of feeling like moral injury, and the guilt of feeling, just like, man, am I a bad person? Like, oh, am I gonna go to hell? Like, what, you go through all this stuff, and it can get hard, and have magic was, and that ability to perform was one of the ways that I kind of kept my humanity. Right, and so when I got home and started performing, it was a way to like realize, like, you're safe. You can go places. You're in charge of this story. I think a lot of us lose control and the story takes over, and this has been a way for me to regain that and be in control of my story.
It's like magic is a vehicle to get you right back out there.
Yeah, absolutely, and then even to this day, I can say that that's part of how, it saved my life. It gave me a reason to, keep going, or keep pursuing the mysterious, and keep pursuing the interesting things that like, this is weird, man. It's just, magic's such a funny art. I don't want to get too hung up on it, because that's not all I did in the Army, but there is just I can look back on that and just trace this line of connections about how it has helped anchor me to this sense of self and reality, and connection.
Doesn't that reflect back to your last road march when you're in basic training?
Mm-hmm.
You were doubting yourself that you couldn't take that next step, but you did.
Right.
And with this, you have that self-doubt and everything coming back from your deployment, but take that step.
Mm-hmm.
Now take another step. And just keep, it's just, I think that's that inner strength of people that you can, even though it might be subconscious, you can relate back to that, going, hey, I did it back then, I can do it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be tough, it's not going to be easy, but I can do it.
Yeah. No, it's funny now. Yeah, I know. There's never going to be a day, well, I shouldn't, there could be, but I can't imagine things being harder than some of the things I had to do, and not even war stuff. I think one of the most traumatic things I think I had to go through to deployment was leaving my infant son. There's like, I made it home. He was born in June. I went on leave. I got home on a Thursday, made it back to Wenatchee Friday. He was born Saturday. I got 2 weeks with him, and I had to go back. And I look back at that, like, I remember being dropped off at the airport and having to say goodbye, and like holding him, and that sense of like, is this the last time? Was this all I got? It's funny because he graduated this year. He turned 18 this year.
It must be somebody in this room's getting older.
I know, right? But it was like, in a way, him and my ex-wife were the last things I left and held, and then when I had to leave, and the first things I held when I came back. And I remember getting chewed out. I got chewed out with my first sergeant one time because my uniform was dirty. We're deployed, mind you. Like, I'm sorry, because when I went, a little garrison kind of broke out on post a little bit. Like, officers wanted us to salute him, and all sorts of crazy stuff. You're like, okay, whatever. First sergeant got mad because my hat was dirty, and he's like, Sergeant Sims, what happens when we get home and you see your family? Are they going to want to touch your dirty uniform? I was like, shit, First Sergeant, if I made it home, I don't give a crap what I look like. Are you kidding me?
I don't think your family's going to care whether you...
They're not going to be there anything.
No, man.
Yeah, I did push-ups, I'm sure. I got it. Shit, I don't think I didn't do...
He was probably just shaking his head. That's true. You can't get to the heads.
And so anyhow, yeah. So you get to my time in the Army ended after my deployment, and I got out. I did a little bit of time in the National Guard just so they wouldn't call me back to deploy because you're still in that contract window.
Right. Now, how many years did you serve active?
I did about 4.5. They actually held me a little bit past my contract for the deployment.
Do that, do they?
Right, and then I did the National Guard, and what they did is they gave me 2 years of the Guard and 2 years stabilization, meaning I would not deploy, I just kind of ride my time out.
Right.
But it wasn't soon after I got home from active that I realized things were tough and I needed some help, and I had a couple resources. I think it's important to note that not everybody's ready for help. You have to be ready. I was ready. I had a kid, a wife, a baby, and a wife, and I was like, they need me. I gotta take care of them. And your deployment savings goes away so fast. Like, kids are expensive, man. And so it was like I knew I needed help. It was pretty quick after a couple incidences where I was like, uh-oh, I'm not doing okay. Yeah. I yelled at some lady. I got in a fight at Walmart. You're just so like, you got all this stuff and you don't know who to give it to. And I just knew something was wrong and made my way to the VA. Got into some counseling, got into a couple programs. I ended up, I went to Tacoma at their big VA hospital and just hung out for a couple weeks, kind of learned some new techniques and coping, and had a little bit of a regroup and a reset. And that battle now is my next lifelong battle, because the wounds and the war and the trauma, and as Tim O'Brien says, the things we carry, we don't ever get rid of it. We just learn how to cope and deal, and we learn how to carry it. And this is this lifelong thing that it's not that I want to, I just know I have to, because there's you don't just get better. It's like you just have to learn how to work through the trauma. And at this point, I've done so many different types of therapies, and it's actually my hope that some of these things keep going. I don't know what's going on with funding, or things have been cut and things have changed, and I gotta say that I am alive solely because of some of those programs. Some of those grants and some of those programs. I am here and functioning because of them. Some of the ones that come to mind, the Vet Center, my counselor, Heather, and before that it was a lady named Sue.
That's Heather Hill down at...
I wasn't sure we had anonymity, but absolutely. She's the GOAT. She's the best. Counseling. And they're under now, 100 veterans now are without counseling because of it's a shame. It's an absolute shame.
It's a terrible thing, because that is, like you're saying, a valuable resource.
And it's like, I don't know how to help them, and I want to, and there's ways to help, but like having those resources like Heather, she's so important because she's the nexus, she's the hub for so many other resources. And so through Sue and Heather, I got into Aletheia, which is this horse equine therapy here in Wenatchee that is just...
That's out in Sunny Slope?
Sunny Slope, yeah. They are a gift, and...
Talking about magic.
That's their weird horse magic. That's what I call it.
That's a magical experience that people...
I'm sure Heather's not going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyways, because after my first session with the horses, because you go in there, you meet the horses, you're hanging out, at 1 hour with the horses was felt so much more effective than so much of the other therapies I had done. After the session, I remember teasing Heather. I was like, "You got to up your game because 1 hour with the horses is like 10 years with you. We got to fix this." Which is, no, she's great. Heather's great. I was giving her a hard time.
Yeah, I've seen Heather out at Alethea, and she completely understands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to be in therapy. You just have to come through the gate.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not only the horses, it's the staff, it's the people, it's the surroundings.
It's the atmosphere. Yeah.
Everything.
That place is an absolute gift, and they are doing amazing things for veterans. They have a veteran running their barn cleanup crew.
Now that's Nathan, isn't it?
Yeah, Nathan. I wasn't sure about names, but yeah, Nathan.
No,
he's one of my heroes.
Jim Cook is out there. He's a sergeant major.
Yep.
I mean, hoorah.
Yep. Jim's been helping me on my. I just went back. I'm going back through the therapy. I've been volunteering at Alethea since 2019 or 2020, and it was so good. The therapy was so good. I started volunteering out there. I go every Tuesday to work with the kids that they bring out there, and because it helped. You're not just. It doesn't just help them. It helps me. And
yeah.
And this. I don't know if this is universal, but if you really want to help yourself, or if you're struggling and you don't feel good inside, helping others and giving and service. It's like a hack right into that feeling of like, I get that good wholesome. It fills that hole that some of us have. That and it's not permanent, but it certainly can. I go there on Tuesdays, and in the last 6 years, I have never left Alethea and been like, I wish I didn't do that. I always leave there feeling renewed and whole and stronger and
I was sad when the time was up. It went so fast.
It does really go fast.
Yeah. I would encourage any veteran, come down and talk with Tony, because he can hook you up to the Staff Sergeant Fox Veteran Suicide Prevention Program through the WDVA to go out to Alethea.
Yeah,
and
thank you for mentioning that grant. That's been an instrumental grant. I've had a couple things this last couple months this year that brought up a bunch of things, and I re-entered some therapy because that journey doesn't stop. You keep going. You have to keep working it. And so through that specific grant, I got physical training, like a trainer, Ruben Payne Jr. He did some personal training. Excuse me, that's what I was looking for, to help for that sort of physical fitness, kind of, tying all those things together, the physical, the mental, the emotional, right?
Well, Alethea, they not only have the therapy part, the 8-week, they have that horsemanship program too for veterans, which I've heard some other veterans, they did the first one and they wanted to go back and do something else. And they were physically able to ride and everything. For those that aren't, it's difficult, but they're all, everybody I've talked to, it's just been, they want to come back, they want to volunteer, they want to help pay it forward for Alethea. Because it is, in that new facility they're putting across the highway there, in that new 13 acres, that is going to be a tremendous thing. 2 arenas, one for the children and everything, and then another one that's totally dedicated to veterans.
Yeah, I went on one of the tours. It looks great, and
that's a beautiful facility.
No, I can't speak highly enough about Alethea, and I got to do a speech for them at one of their things that was.
And Nancy Grady is.
Yeah.
A tremendous lady. Co-founder.
Her vision and how it's come together is
the
it's
energy
a gift
that she puts into it is just amazing.
No, she's great, and they hired me for Magic one year too, which is fun.
Cool. There you go. That's all right.
So there was Ruben through Powerful Human doing his training program, which has been good for me to build just confidence and some strength, and they had this Staff Sergeant Fox grant got me hooked up with acupuncture with Jill at the Wenatchee Community Acupuncture.
Right.
And that's been amazing. I can't speak highly enough for that because you kind of heal in a community, which is something I never thought I'd be comfortable with. Also, I don't like needles. Didn't think I'd be okay with that, but it's one of those.
It's a whole different thing than getting immunized.
No, totally, absolutely. And in fact, I think one of the things it does for me is it forces me to sit still. I'm a very busy, twitchy, and I never sit perfectly still. And that gets me like, and I just need, it's like I need to pump the brakes, and that's a nice way to stop and slow and thing. And I've kind of...
It's a nice grounding experience.
Right. Yeah, we tend to live in the future or the past, and it really just brings us right here to now, and just...
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so that so those programs have been instrumental, and then there's the guys at the Bunker. The Bunker is a local thing here in Wenatchee that takes care of vets in town, and
that's NCW Vet Serving Vets.
Yes, thank you. The full title. A couple years ago, when they were first starting out, I was the recipient of one of their gifts for Christmas. I had gone back to school but hadn't found a job. Small family. I had 2 kids at the time. Things were tough. I think I was working out at McDougal and Sons repairing apple bins for like $9 an hour, which, super demotivating with a bachelor's degree. You're like, I don't know what's going on.
Puts food on the table, though.
You're right. And that was my, I'm very grateful for them. Sure. And they helped me do a transition. But the guys at the Bunker, we had somehow got talking, and it was getting towards Christmas time, and not only did they bring me a couple bags of toys and stuff for the kids, they gave me a check for $1,000. And what a small thing to them. I know, I don't know how much they realized it at the time. It was, yeah, right, check, no problem. For me,
big deal.
That was getting, it helped me keep going just enough. It's like, and I think that's where I'm at now in my journey is I want to be an advocate and help all my brothers and sisters in arms, because we get chewed up in this machine and spit out the other end, and then they're like, good luck. And and so having gone through that and put myself back together, I just recognize the importance of that. And not only does that help me to help others, but it helps continue this trend of vets serving vets, like what their title's actually called. We're like the only people that get it sometimes.
Well, I mean, the VSO down here, John and Tony and Anna, there's several veterans, and they think, well, they don't come down here, but they go, it's just another VA thing. It's, no, man, these people are advocates. They are a liaison between you and the VA. They help you navigate all those complexities and that maze of paperwork and red tape and everything to get the compensation and the care that you deserve that comes from your service. And don't be afraid to come down. These people aren't going to bite. Occasionally you get a cookie.
Yeah. Well, these are the last place I was, because this is for Chelan County, and this might be posted to the internet, but hopefully there's similar things in other folks' regions that these groups, they'll help you with service connection. They'll help you with the GI Bill. I'm working with Tony. My oldest just turned 18, so we're looking at college and benefits for there and how all that stuff works. It's because I think you said earlier there's a lot of programs, but the VA or other folks don't always talk about them. You kind of got to do your own digging and
when you go to places like NCW Vets or here, even Heather, and there are some other agencies in town, a lot of these people are veterans that have banged their head against the VA wall for years and years and got denied and turned down, and finally they got through. And so they're willing to sit down with you so that you don't have to spend that time banging your head against the wall.
Right.
And help you get through it as unscathed. I hate to use that word,
right.
but I mean to get through it, to get to a resolved situation quicker.
Yeah.
So.
And Tony and John, those are special individuals who are willing and able to muscle through the bureaucratic nonsense of the paperwork. It's just like, because I've looked at you're like, oh my god, it's overwhelming, and
they go, oh.
They have to have they're there, they got you, they're that guiding force. And
they're very good about explaining everything to you, so you're not like the VA where you're left in the dark and nobody says, well, this might be like 4 years before you hear this.
Right.
They're honest down here about, hey, it could be a couple months, it could be a year, it could be longer.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of it, but at least you know that your paperwork has been filled out, and you end up signing it, you check it all out, and if it's not right with you, well then they correct it, and everything. I mean, it's just a very positive experience, and they are on the veteran side. From the time you come in the door until you come back, and if you ever have a question, don't hesitate to call up and ask them, and don't be afraid. I mean, this is the least thing to be afraid of.
Yeah, and that sort of support is just crucial. Sometimes just, showing up and having someone say like, hey, I get it, man, I got you. So that's we all need that sometimes.
Well, too, and you have to show up. If you don't show up, well then it's guaranteed you're not getting anything.
Right, yeah, that too. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of like you were saying before, you keep hearing that truck behind you, and you're going, oh man, I don't want to be recycled here.
Right.
I got to ruck up, and I got to take that step forward, and I got to keep going, and then all of a sudden you're seeing that finish line and said, hey, I'm almost there. And that's it. It serves out here in the real world, or what we used to just say back in the world, that I did it in the service, I can do it here.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. It wasn't easy then, but I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so now I am a 9th grade science teacher. I'm on summer break, which is how I can be here on a Friday afternoon at 10.
Cool. With a nice Hawaiian shirt on, I might say.
Yes, it's super.
We got a good picture of that.
It's very nice out, so yeah.
Cool.
And a lot of the lessons of leadership and organization that the Army gave me applied to my classroom. In fact, I'll go ahead and say I got one of the most squared away classrooms, probably. And
you teach for Wenatchee or Eastmont?
At Eastmont, and I'm not trying to brown nose too much, but Eastmont has been a very, very good employer and advocate and supporter of me, not just for as a person, but for vets. There's a lot of vets in the teaching community. Eastmont, they take care of their teachers, and at Sterling where I work, I'm the admin. A lot of support. As a former sergeant, I have had a few talking tos about being a little too tough on them. I may or may not have made a class cry, but I.
It's not out of cruelty, it's out of concern.
And there's I think some people aren't used to authoritative, or that, that sort of like, oh no, you're in 9th grade. This isn't a discussion. You do the thing or you fail. It's like, I'm a very hard line, and I bring that. But at the same time, the Army gave me these tools to, organization, communication, clarity, and expectations, high expectations.
Well, it's not unkind to tell a person that's becoming close to a young adult that they need to put their crayons down and see the color of the world.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's
because,
probably nicer than I've said it in the past.
It isn't. It ain't going to be an easy road.
Right.
And, Mom ain't going to be there patting you on the head and on whatever all the time. So you're going to have to learn, children. Pay
Yeah.
attention and learn, because someday it's going to all be on you.
Yeah. And through teaching, I've felt other healing, because teaching is service work, teaching
Sure.
is giving back, teaching is community. And every year in November, I get to give my Veterans Day presentation. And I give them a no holds barred, gut punch, truth filled discussion about the reality of that. And almost more to help them understand who I am, right? To provide some context, but also to take control of that story and that narrative. And through that, my healing journey, it's to the point now, like I said, we can do this stuff. I can share stuff. I can talk to them and be open without getting too lost in the gnarly stuff. But they don't get to hear those stories. Nobody does. So many of us vets hold it in, and I think that's they need to know. They need to know some of the shitty parts. They need to know some of the cool parts.
Like you said, the reality and the truth of it. We're not going to color this over, because if you come face to face one of these days with it, at least you're going to have a fairly good idea that this ain't going to end up pretty. So.
Yeah, and you never know who's in your crowd that might be the next Medal of Honor winner, that might be the next.
Absolutely.
So you're working with people who are doing, they're the future, and
you never know what one little thing to one person can make a difference in the lives of many. And that's, I think people lose context even more these days than before, that it only takes one person, and they say, well, one person can't do anything. Yes, one person can. One person with focus and discipline and tenacity to get out there and do it, and like what you are, getting up and taking that step and going forward. And, you might start out by yourself, and before you know it, you got someone on your left walking with you, and someone on the right. And before you know it, you got a community, because they're all seeing that example, and that, hey, if he can do it, we can do it. And that it's a cumulative thing, and that is also to be commended, because there's a lot of people that just give up before they ever try, and that doesn't accomplish anything.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you letting me.
Hey, this has been a blessing. I've just really enjoyed this, and now to know you're a magician. Let me turn off this camera. I'm going to get a trick here.
Okay.
I'll give him a cookie, but I'm going to get.
I never leave anywhere without a deck of cards.
Okay, cool. Okay.
It's embarrassing and true.
Hey, I want to thank you again, Jason, for coming in, and the time this has been a blessing. I mean, this has been a good time. Shared some valuable information. We've had some laughs and everything, and really appreciate you coming in and sharing your story.
Yeah, and if there's anybody out there, man, that's struggling, we're out there. We're here for you. Just pick up the phone. Sometimes that's the hardest thing in the world to do. The hardest thing to do is to pick up the phone. It's as soon as you pick up the phone, if you can get to that point, we're here. We're out there. Reach out. Find your people. We're here for you. Okay?
You'll never regret it.
No, absolutely.
Cool. Hey, well, thanks again, man.
All right, thanks,
Appreciate
Getty.